Welcome back to the Basic Mix series. In this video, we're going to take a look at everything we've done so far and start getting a little bit deeper into making this sound nice and sweet. We haven't done any panning, we haven't done any reverb or delays, and we haven't done any processing on the stereo out. In this series, if you haven't been following along, I'm focusing just on these things here: levels, panning, EQ, compression, reverb, delay, and we'll do some master fader processing. I'm not using any third-party plugins. We're just setting this up in a real basic way. So trying to keep it clear and simple. The goal is we want to be able to hear everything in here so that when it's delivered to the artist as sort of its, the initial mix, they can give feedback as to what they want: up, down, left, right, whatever. So that's the idea. Normally, I budget about 2 hours for this. And so looking at the episodes that have been done so far, I'm more or less on schedule. I'm slightly ahead of schedule on total time, especially considering I'm definitely moving a little bit slower because I'm explaining things as I go. So let's jump right in. It's time to start looking at panning and effects, so like reverbs and things like that. So let's take a look at the drums. This is where they're really happening here in this big part and the end part. So let's look at that. Okay, so panning wise, let's take a look at what's what. Typically, kicks are going to be pan center. We've got this sub here. The snares, you can move these all around. In most pop music, it's right down the center. In this case, I think I'm going to leave it in the center. The hi-hat will maybe put off to the side just a little bit. We have these overheads, which are already stereo, so no panning needed on that. We have the room, already stereo, no panning needed on that. We have the toms, so I think the toms might sound fun if I just open them up just a little bit. They're only really happening at the end, but we'll just put those there for now. And then we've got this guy, which is another cymbals track, which is also stereo. Let me just listen to this one solo and see exactly what it's doing. Yeah, you see that already has some stereo imaging going on. I might basically augment that by panning it a little bit further left because it's already a little bit left. Okay, this is sounding pretty good. Now let's add some reverb to this. So you can do all different kinds of reverbs. I'm just going to stick with some basic reverbs, and I'm going to set up a quick reverb effects loop. And I'll start with using the snare. I think this one. Yeah, because that one's just got more top end to it. So we'll select that track. We're going to go to send. We're going to go to bus, and we'll choose bus 1. Opens up an aux track for us here. On the audio effects, we're going to choose under reverb, we're going to go to chromaverb, stereo, and you could do anything you want in here. So I'm just going to basically pick something I like. I'm probably going to change it as I go. I just want like a basic reverb. I really like this concert hall one. I've been using that a lot, but we'll do that. We want to make sure the wet is set to 100%, dry is 0, because we're going to control wet and dry with this. I have made a video about using effects loops before, so you might want to check that out. I know it's very quiet. We'll hear this more as we go into other things. I'm just sort of testing this out right now. That's a little bit of reverb there. How about these overheads? Maybe send some overheads to the reverb. Just add some air, and let's add the bass in. Listen to the drums and the bass. Okay. And now, because we already know things are more or less balanced, and I'm sort of working on panning and reverb, I'm just going to go right down the channel strip. I'm not going to write down the list of tracks. I'm not going to jump to mixing these like I have done. I'm just going to go right to these guys next and take a listen to them. Let's go over here because it's louder here. So these guys will send a little bit of them to the verb as well. Just a little. It's really easy to go overboard on the reverb. The rule of thumb is turn it up to where it sounds good and then turn it down a little. That's sort of the good rule of thumb with reverb. I mean, it always sounds better until you listen to it the next day and you're like, what was I thinking on this reverb? So let's go to these guys. This is sort of the lead. We're going to ignore that one for now. Just a little, very subtle. This is going to be the lead. This one will probably have a little bit more. Okay. Now we're going to go to this electric at the end. I don't think I'm going to put any verb on this. This electric is already huge at the end. You know, maybe a little bit, just to give it some warmth. Just a little, just to make it happen in the same room as everything else, more or less. These guys over here. So these guys can take a lot of reverb. There's a lot of space. And these will help us sort of define the space because we can sort of hear the space and feel the space with these guys. If we come over to electric, these electrics here. So these are the swells, little volume swells. Same thing, they can help us define the space too. So they're going to be driving the verb sound. Acoustic guitar usually loves reverb. Good. Cello in this area here. I kind of love this dry cello sound, so I'm going to be really careful with how much I add. Oops, wrong bus, wrong bus. You know, you could crank this and it would still sound good. You know, it just gets a little bit indulgent, you know. Good. And now this cello. Okay, piano. You know, I'm actually not going to put any on that room sound piano. Okay, the synth, I believe, is just air. Yeah. I mean, the synth is effectively doing what we're already doing with the reverb. So I'm going to leave that alone. This one, I'm not sure how it's going to sound with the verb. So we're going to, whoops. There we go. I'm going to look at this synth up here. There we go. Yeah, I think it's fine. Just a little bit on there. Now we're going to get to the vocal. Now the vocal I'm going to treat slightly differently here. It is the lead after all.
There is a man in my dream.
So I'm going to use a really standard setup for vocals that I use for sort of demo mixes all the time. Now you could keep this totally dry in terms of delay and reverb, but I'm going to do something really standard here. We're going to do two things. So we're going to go to bus 2. The vocal is going to have its own reverb. And we're going to make that where is it? Not the vocal chamber, vocal hall. We're going to see how this sounds.
There is a man in my dream knocking on my head. And
yep. Okay. So that, and then just with a little bit of color, this is going to make it sound sort of vintage. This is going to be a delay. Tape delay, and it's going to be not set to time, but it's going to be set to not set to tempo, but set to time. It's going to be 128 milliseconds, sort of the magic number. It's going to be all wet.
There is a man in my dream.
Yeah, pull the reverb off. You can hear that delay.
There is a man in my dream.
Hear it? So we just want a taste of that, just a tiny bit.
There is a man in my dream knocking on my head.
I usually set that until it almost sort of feels like reverb. Just gives it a space.
There is a man in my dream knocking on my head, and I've given all I have to be given. He never says that much.
And then what we're going to do is going to do one more delay, which we may or may not use. I think we'll use Delay Designer, and we're going to do... we'll do this simple pan, quarter note simple pan.
There is a man in my dream knocking on my head, and I've given all I have to be given.
So that one, if we want a long delay, we would go for that. But I'm going to not use that for now. I just have it set up in case I want it. Okay, so now the room.
There is a man in my dream.
Leave that just how it is. The backing vocal, probably just verb. We don't need a bazillion delays.
Who are these figurines that rest upon my pillow, flying in the night, doing nothing right? What does all this mean? If I wait, then will they follow? Never will I know where they go. Do they go?
All right, and then these guys, which are just the room sounds, the gang vocals are called, where it's a big group of people. These ones will probably just send to that room reverb, like the same reverb while the instruments are being sent to.
We were rolling passages in the night, ignoring all the others.
And actually, we should include these guys too.
Passers by. We were only passaging in the night.
Okay, I think that works well. So we are making some progress here. So I'm going to stop the video here, and we'll tune in for the next video to check out more panning, more effects, and listen to the whole thing.